Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika, all right? And this is 61st Street, Season 1, Episode 5, okay? Over the Wall. And let me tell y'all, the only thing that I wanted to know with this was that David was okay, all right? Protect David at all costs. That is all I wanted to know. And so when he got in there, his wife was so daggone distraught and traumatized she wasn't answering him. He's like, woman, where is David? Okay, what is going on? And he got to run in the room and see that David is okay. And David was letting him know that he got lost and that they ended up following him, well, rather bringing him home, all right? And so I'm like, okay, cool, because that had my blood pressure going up, and I was able to get it down and know that David is safe. And so then we got, somebody opening up this jail cell. You got another inmate screaming for the guard, and we see somebody ends up coming out the cell on fire, all right? And I'm like, oh, Lord, okay, we starting it out, right to the point, right, with a bang. And so apparently they was trying to kill Moses, y'all, and this is bugging me out because, you go through enough stuff when there's a person that's locked up. There's different things that can happen in prison. But you have this father, right, of Moses that's literally trying to purposely put him in danger and have extra stuff happen to him on top of what probably would already happen to him, just to try to prove a point and get him to come over to him for protection and join his gang, okay? And he don't have a problem with him being locked up. He feels like he shouldn't even be fighting to get out, and it's like, huh? Okay, we gonna roll with it. That's the way they wrote it, right? And so, of course, you have Franklin coming there and talking to Moses after this incident happens. And he's like, they are trying to kill me in here, okay? I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to make this through. I don't know who exactly is trying to kill me. And, they're telling them that the time is up. They're still trying to talk as fast as they can as they're walking out. And, of course, Franklin is telling them that he needs to focus and to hang in there. And he was like, the state's attorney made an offer, all right? Now, all of a sudden, if he pleads guilty to murder one, then he would just do 20 years. And so Moses ain't trying to do no time. He like 20 years. And he was like, well, listen, I still have to tell you about this, and you still have to make a choice, okay? And so he says, well, why they all of a sudden offering a deal now? All right, that they must have found something else or know something else, because they wasn't trying to make no type of deal before. But, of course, as his lawyer, he still has to tell him about this. And so he was like, you're going to have to decide now. And so, of course, Moses is basically like, what do I do? What do I do? In the meantime, you still got Franklin in a whole bunch of daggone pain. And so right after he sees, Moses, they showing his mother getting dressed in the bathroom, putting her uniform on, because remember, she works as a janitor at the court. And so first she was trying to leave like the mop bucket and all the cleaning stuff in one area, and you see a guard telling her like, that can't be left here, you need to move. And so she's essentially trying to sneak inside of the courtroom and hear what's going on with Moses' case in the midst of her actually being on duty to work. So now she got to go and push, the stuff somewhere else, and then try to sneak in the court for a minute and hear what's happening. Moses goes in front of the judge, and the judge basically lets him know that they are offering a deal now, instead of him, just going in front of a jury, and the jury possibly sentencing him to maximum, life in prison. He actually has this offer of 20 years, like Franklin told him. And so the lawyer for the other side is basically saying, they have offered this deal, and it's a hell of a deal, And then the judge is like, huh? And she's like, it's a hell of a deal, Your Honor. And so he's asking Franklin if he understands what this mean and what his options is, and then he's asking him how's he gonna plead. And of course Franklin ends up pleading not guilty, all right? And so they say, okay, they're gonna have to go ahead and take this to trial. And so The defense attorney is saying, you know, is this coming from him or is this coming from you to Franklin? You know, like in other words, is he making him say this? But he didn't. He asked Moses and he left it up to him. Of course, I'm pretty sure that he does want him to fight, but it's not a decision that he can make. It's only a decision that Moses can make. And so we have Franklin and his wife at the doctor's office getting these results, and unfortunately, the news is really bad, okay? They have confirmed that the cancer has spread. It went from prostate to the bone, and it is a whole bunch of other small tumors, and it's basically in his pelvis, his lower spine, his coccyx. It's not good, okay? And that would explain the pain that he's been experiencing, all right? And so, of course, you know, he has cancer of the tailbone and cancer in the top of the spine. And so the wife and Martha is saying, well, since he caught it early and you saying it's small tumors, does this mean, you know, of course, she's trying to be positive that we caught this early and things can be done. He's saying, no, unfortunately, this is a very advanced cancer, okay? And so it does not look good at all. And Franklin asked him how long, and he says 18 months possibly, but not likely, okay? There are treatment options. There's testosterone reduction therapy, ADT. And, you know, the wife is saying get this started full, you know, fast as they can. And they talking about the side effects of it and all this other stuff. And you know how it goes, right? Cancer is horrible. And so they were saying that he could possibly get fatigue, you know, start having all different kind of emotions and body changes and all of that. And so they step out into the hall and they both just basically break down and cry at the same time. And that's hard to see because we know what cancer does and how hard that is, right? And so, you know, on the way from them coming back from the doctor's office, Martha's basically on the phone with her assistant Marisol, and she's asking how he's doing, and she's saying, well, you know, she'll put out a full statement and she'll put things on hold and all of that kind of stuff so that, you know, Martha don't have to come out and deal with this right now because she has the situation with Franklin going on. And Franklin is telling her, no, if she can't stop nothing right now, right, she has to continue and she has to do this debate. If she stops now, then that's going to mess up everything for her. You know, in the midst of them driving home, Franklin sees Calvin looking like, I don't know if he was purchasing drugs for himself or if he was trying to sell drugs or what was going on, but it was one or the other. And he literally pulls the car over and is pulling Calvin to the side and telling him that he needs to stay clean for the trial. What is he doing? It's a big trial. You know, why would he put himself in jeopardy like that? And he actually is telling one of the other dealers, like, Calvin needs to stay clean. And the wife is even asking him, what is he doing? You know, why is he over there getting into that? Who is that? And she basically tells him, I'm not going to do this, okay? She was like, you have to decide now. You have a little bit of time left. We just got this bad news from the doctor. You over here worried about this trial and what Calvin is doing. What about your son at home? How are you going to explain to him that you're dying and that you don't have that much time left? And so she's over it, all right? And she says she won't be talking to David about the fact that he's dying or whatever the case may be. That is going to be all on him. You know, we then have Sarge walking into this chicken spot, and as he's going in, some guy, Ray outside, is basically saying to him, oh, I didn't know pigs eat chicken. You know, they already know that Sarge is basically, you know, bad and plays both sides of the damn fence and all of that kind of stuff. And so Sarge then brings Logan in and introduces him to some guy named Squeeze. We see him giving him money, and he's telling, you know, Johnny to pick it up, or rather to count it, and telling the guy Squeeze that Johnny will be doing the regular pickups from now on, okay? He also tells Johnny that when he has more time, he could sit down and talk to Squeeze and find out how he got the name. And so I'm just a little curious when it comes to this part. Is Johnny really falling for what the Sarge got going on and becoming a part of it now? Or is he thinking that he's doing some type of undercover work right now and getting to the bottom of whatever Michael was into? Or is a little bit of both? Okay, y'all put it in the comments and let me know. But Johnny was kind of looking at Squeeze funny, and Squeeze was looking at him funny, like if he didn't know he could trust him. You know, then as they're going to leave, they like, oh, that was fast, you got your chicken already and all this other stuff. And you know, they both basically doing banter back and forth, right, as far as Sarge and the guys that's outside. But then all of a sudden one of the guys start talking about how, you know, the guy, did you hear about the cop that got killed, and making different jokes about that, basically talking about Michael's murder. And Mr. Logan loses it, okay? He beats this guy to a pulp, and Sarge had to come and break it up and ask him what the hell he's doing. And he was like, don't you see that it's wealth we building? So we see that, you know, basically when it comes to Sarge, it's all about money. He don't care about the fact that his own cops is getting killed or whoever else get killed. If there's a profit in it for him, that is his main goal and his main objective. And so he's telling him, you know, he can't be going all crazy like that. And so Johnny basically apologizes to him. He was saying, don't get, you know, Sarge was telling Johnny, don't get distracted by Knucklehead. So I found that really interesting. You know, you have these inmates basically antagonizing Moses as he's walking through. It looks like they're transferring him to another side of the prison. And when he gets into that side, you know, basically Moses is like, what's going on? Where y'all moving me? He's like, guard, guard, guard. No, no, no. Basically not wanting to go in there. And he ends up in the cell with his dad. So like I said, his dad is literally orchestrating all of this to keep him there and to make him feel like he has to get his protection. He's telling him the faction is actually the ones that's after him. And, you know, if he don't have his protection, they will essentially end up killing him. You know, you have Franklin trying to come and talk to David about his cancer. But of course, this is hard for him to do, right? He's telling him he needs to talk to him about something serious for a minute. It starts with the letter C. And, you know, then when he was trying to get it out, he couldn't. You know, essentially, David starts to tell him about he have something he want to talk to him about as well. And he was like, it starts with this word P. And so he was like, what could that be? And thinking or whatever. And then, you know, David says Penumbra, and he was like, huh? Oh, he was like, I don't know. What is that one supposed to be? Refresh my memory. And so basically he tells him that's when the earth shadows the moon. And a lot of people look at it like it's a full moon, but it's actually a shadow. And it happens with the lunar eclipse, and that will be happening tomorrow. And so, you know, Frank is like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so he was like, yeah, maybe we could watch it, you know, together. And so he was like, a lot of people miss it, but he don't, all right? And so, of course, Franklin like, wow, that's amazing or whatever. So he was like, well, he have to think on that one, all right? And he would let him know whether, you know, they would be able to watch it. And then he says, all right, well, do you want to go ahead and tell me about what you was going to talk to me about with your C word, or do you need to think about that too? And Franklin says, yes, he do need to think about it. Okay, of course, this is a hard discussion to have with anybody. And the fact that this is his son and he have autism and different things like that, I'm sure makes it even harder. So, of course, he cuts the discussion and he's just kind of looking at him and, you know, embracing him in that moment or whatever have you. And so we have Johnny at this museum, and you have these other single mothers that look like, you know, they looking and talking and pointing at him or whatever and saying, oh, have you ever seen anything so perfect? And they like, I don't think so. And they was like, not at the PTA meeting time, because he done came there with Michael's son. And so one of them comes over and she's calling herself, introducing herself and asking him, how's it going? And Johnny's like, well, I'm a cop and I watch my partner down the street, so how do you think it's going? And I've been suspended and my hand hurts a little bit, but other than that, I'm good. He just kind of brushes them off. And so Michael's son is telling him that's Trevor's mom and that she's divorced. And he was like, oh, so, you know, your mom be talking about her or whatever. And he was like, no, you know, she tries not to talk about, you know, them or whatever the case may be, especially in front of me. He was like, well, you know, she's not going to be at the party tonight, right? And so Michael's son is saying, no, but I hope you are. And he was like, we'll see. So in the midst of that, we see some guy looking at him. And I'm like, oh, Lord, don't tell me they don't follow him to the museum and gonna do something to him or to Michael's son, you know, from him beating up the guy. But no, this was something completely different. This was one of the guys coming up to him and letting him know that basically, you know, he was like, I hear you Brennigan's new boy or whatever, and the nation has an offer, okay, where if your crew takes the booth off our necks, we will go 5 points higher than the faction, okay? And we know that this was basically the one that Joshua got in the car with at the end of the episode. And so now that they know that he's been taking payouts from the faction, they basically offering to pay a higher percentage because, of course, remember, they've been complaining that how they keep getting the heat and the faction keeps getting off easy. All right. And so I thought that was interesting. Of course, we have, Moses' mom basically putting together this thing where she's trying to raise money. We see those shirts she was making with his names on it. We see a whole bunch of food and different stuff like that. We have Franklin meeting Coach Franklin. He was like, we have the coach meeting Franklin and telling him, I guess you're the man that's kind of in charge of Franklin now, right? I was the one that was always doing everything for him before and helping him. And so, of course, Franklin is like, oh, okay, coach. And so basically, they start speaking for a little minute, introducing themselves. So we then have Tutu's mom come. And, we see her talking to Martha and she's saying, oh, I thought we was going to meet over at the cookout. And so Tutu's mother starts going in saying, oh, you got this pro bono lawyer and where you think the money comes from. Okay, the money is basically coming from, drug dealers. She was like, oh, so y'all having the barbecue on the corner from around the corner where all the drug deals go down. And so basically she was like, it's an open air drug market and Joshua's a part of it. And that's not what I thought she was going to use that information for. When she saw Joshua, I'm thinking she going to go tell his mother about it. Instead, she over here telling Martha about it. And Martha's telling her, I can't listen to this. She was like, well, you can't unhear it either. She was like, I'm telling you. She was like, y'all putting all this money into Moses' legal team, but what about my child? Okay, I don't hear nobody saying my child's name. I hear them saying Moses' name. And so Martha's telling her, you could trust me. Okay, I'm trying my best to help your son or whatever. And so Tutu's mother tells her, I'm trying to trust you, sweetie, but I better not catch you with your shoes on, because you know how they was always, emphasizing on the fact that she was no shoes Martha, okay, coming out with her bare feet. And so that was just interesting to me, again, because at the end of the day, Moses' moms has tried to be there and give Tutu's mother support, all right? She's literally went with her to the precinct, been with her there for the funeral and all of that. You keep equating these two situations and saying, oh, y'all keep saying Moses' name and you not saying my son's name, but at the end of the day, it is two different situations, all right? And the same way Moses' mother's fighting for her child, you could fight for yours too. But Tutu was out there in the streets selling drugs and he did have a gun. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that these damn cops is crooked and that I wouldn't trust Sarge and that Sarge did lie a little bit, all right? And even with Moses' situation, he did run. And he did also, not intentionally, but he did push the cop. And so I think maybe they just trying to show how everything is not black and white. It's some good and some bad. And each and one of them situations is nobody's situation that's a perfect, straight, and narrow through. But again, I did find that interesting because you still have yet to go to Moses' mother and tell her what you seen with her son. You know what I mean? Instead, you decided to go and tell Martha about it. But y'all put in the comments, let me know how y'all feel about that. And so at first we have Moses' mother getting up to make this speech, but then she gets really emotional. All of a sudden, Franklin starts making the speech. He takes over, and he basically ends up having the crowd chanting Moses' name. Martha looks like she's coming to give support, but then all of a sudden, as she's standing there, it's almost like she starts getting ticked off, I guess, between what Tutu mother just said and the fact that Franklin is getting all caught up into this when he's literally just been told he only got 18 daggone months to live. And so I guess that's frustrating for her. And all of a sudden, she turns and walks away and was like, like if she was just going back home, like she didn't want to even be a part of the whole barbecue and, raising the funds for Moses anymore, whatever. And he sees her walk away, but he still continues to stand out there and chant. So I definitely thought that was quite interesting as well. We have Sergeant Johnny and all the cops there at Michael's house. They're also having like a little cookout and party or whatever in the backyard. And Sarge overhears you know, the boy is basically playing a game of cops and robbers, or saying, you know, you're going to be the good guy, you're going to be the bad guy. And one of them brings up a wire, and then the other one says, you know, what is a wire? He was like, well, that's basically something that cops wear so that they could be able to, you know, record and catch what somebody else is saying, okay, and nobody else would be able to see it. They would have it up underneath their shirt. And so, of course, with Sarge hearing this, he then approaches Logan and was like, well, what do you think these kids heard a story about wires? Now, I'm thinking Logan gonna be like, oh, they probably saw it when they was watching the TV or something like that. But instead, Logan tells him, well, you know, they heard me basically talking about it. He admits half the truth of it, but then he switches it around and basically repeats what the captain said to him when he brought it to the captain, where he's telling, you know, the Sarge, well, at the end of the day, I threw it away. And he was like, you really want me to believe that? And you didn't listen to anything that was on it? Because he tells him, you know, when Michael died, I found the wire on him. I wasn't expecting that. Of course, I freaked out and I hurried up and took it off of him before the, you know, EMS and all of that stuff arrived. And he basically was like, you know, yeah, I just threw it away because at the end of the day, you know, his secrets needed to be buried with him, all right? His family doesn't need to have everything uprooted and messed up for them because of whatever he might have been into. And so that was essentially what the captain has said to him. He was like, you know, do you want to pull out stuff and then have all of their things taken away from them? Right now, they're secure. They'll get all their benefits. The kids will be paid for to go to school and college and all that other kind of stuff. And so the Sarge wasn't falling for it at first. He was like, don't feed me shit and tell me it's sugar. But I think he was able to get it past him somewhat by him breaking it down to him in the same way that the captain originally broke it down to Logan. So I said, okay, maybe Logan is not as stupid as we think he is. But now the Sarge is definitely going to have one eye, okay, looking at him now that that part got exposed, you know. He also asked him, is there anything else he needs to tell him about? And he basically brings up how he was approached by somebody and they were saying if they willing to pay 5 points higher than the faction, okay, then would he be down for it? And I think that the sergeant would be down for it because at the end of the day, I think all he cares about is whoever's the highest bidder and his pockets basically getting fatter, okay? And so that was what we had on that, you know. For Moses' mom brings up to Franklin, like, who's this white lady that's been, you know, snooping around, that's supposed to be this lawyer, whatever, that showed up at the barbecue as well. He's saying that she's good, okay, but he don't know exactly what she's there for or what she's planning on doing. And she does end up coming up to Franklin and telling him that, you know, she has some ideas and she heard about the case and she's been seeing how he's working. So I don't know if this is going to be an addition to Franklin's team that may end up helping out with Moses. We shall see. You know, we also see Joshua putting a big knot inside of the can, okay? And we see this guy walking up. We don't know who he is, but he observes and sees when Joshua threw that money in the can. And then he's there at the table all of a sudden talking about, that's your boy. And Moses' mother's basically like, yeah, that's, you know, Joshua. And he's like, oh, he seems like he's a good kid. And she was like, yeah, overall he is. So we have this other nosy lady that's asking him, is he married? What does he do? Does he have a girlfriend? You know, what's his name? And she was like, you know, when Franklin comes over, he's saying to Franklin, I know you. And then Franklin is like, have we met? And he was like, I don't think so. He asked him what he did. So he was like, he's a plumber by day and an activist at night. All right. And so, you know, all of a sudden, the same lady that was being nosy with that guy start asking Franklin, you know, are you married? He's like, yes, I am. Then she's still talking about, do you got a girlfriend? He was like, who do you think I am? So they go walking off, and it's Moses' mother still left with this mystery plumber man, okay? And he's saying how, you know, he know how it is, and that sons have to be brave for their mother, and they try to hold on. And you know, she was like, how do you know Moses? And he was like, I don't, but I feel like I do, okay? And he was like, that's why I'm here, and I'm trying to give support. And he was like, I don't want to seem out of pocket, but here's my number, okay? If there's ever anything I could do for you, let me know. And he gets to play the food, and he goes walking off. And I just was like, okay, keep an eye out on this guy, because I don't know. That just seemed mad random that he popped up out of nowhere. You claiming that you a plumber and an activist, honey. I don't know about that. I think it's definitely more to his story, but I don't think they would show him for no reason. And the fact that he peeped, Joshua putting the money in the jar. We then have Franklin where he's noticing this pole up at the street. He's looking at it, but we don't really know why in that moment. We have Logan helping, Michael's wife clean up or whatever. All right, they always having this close time together where they be looking like they about to damn kiss. She's basically cleaning up his bandages and saying, in all the years that you've been working, I've never known you to really get hurt and be aggressive and be getting into fights. And he was like, well, I always had Michael there with me, and Michael was basically a different type of cop. And she's like, well, what kind of cops are you working with now? And of course he don't want to be giving her too much information. And like I said, they always have this awkward moment that seemed like they about to damn kiss or something, and in the midst of them having another one of those moments, who should come walking in but Sarge, and gonna talk about, he had forgot his jacket or something like that. So now I don't know if he probably have it in his mind that it's something going on with them, or that he could have possibly told her something. Like I said, Logan, sometimes I feel like is putting himself in a position where either he could get killed or, God forbid, get Michael's wife killed. But we shall see, all right? And then he ends up giving her the little recording thing and saying he thinks she should hold on to it. He shouldn't have it in his possession. And I'm like, I don't know if that was the best thing to do. Maybe you should just throw it away if you feel like you shouldn't have it in your possession. Because, again, you could possibly end up getting this lady hurt. You have Franklin notice this spotter, okay? That's what the poll was that he was looking at. And he was like, again, why was the attorney trying to make this deal? That deal wasn't on the table or before. You have this spotter out here. Why? Moses said they shot at him, but CPD says they didn't. And of course, we know that they could possibly be lying. And so, of course, this then makes him go all the way back to the scene and trying to go over the scene again, okay? We have Moses in the jail, and we're seeing how they're just all moving out the way, letting him go first to get his food. He's telling them, no, that's okay, y'all don't have to do that, but everybody moves out the way and is waiting for him to get his food first. So he just hurries up and tries to get it and get out the way. Of course, his father's telling him to sit down, and he's like, at the end of the day, you gotta eat. And so Moses was like, what's so funny about all of this? He was like, my coach used to help me. He used to train me. He used to make me eat a certain amount of protein because of me having to, run on track. My mom was there. She would help me. She would take care of me and, give me food and clothes and all of that. He was like, in all of this, I never seen you. But now all of a sudden you want to talk about something you worried about, me eating my food. He was like, you've never been a father to me, all right? You never been a dad. And so that's when his father's telling him, like, that the guards is working with the faction and they're trying to kill you. And unless you have my protection, basically, you assed out. And so Moses sits back down when he says that to him. And he's realizing that, he's going to basically be stuck inside of this situation, whether he wants to be or not. All right. And so at the same time, when Moses is saying that they want him to take this deal, the father even says, 20 years, that's not nothing. So it's like, like I said, at the end of the day, it's like if he doesn't even want Moses to fight and he feels like he should take this deal, 20 years would be easy or whatever. We see Calvin there again going over everything that happened with Franklin and showing him that the cop shot from down below and Moses was at the top. And so he's like, you're sure about that? Because apparently Franklin didn't know about that part. And then he takes the ladder and he climbs to the top. And he's like, He was like, so then the bullet is basically, gone. We don't know where it went if he shot up. And Calvin is agreeing, saying, yeah, that bullet is long gone. Because, at first Franklin was like, where's the bullet? So Franklin is slowly pulling together his defense and his case and catching them out there in certain lies, that they told. And he notices the moon, of course, and everything that his son was saying about the moon. So he stops for a minute and just was taking that in. And he starts to tell, Calvin the breakdown of the moon and what was happening in the same way that his son did. Martha's up here giving this speech and doing this debate, and she starts asking you know, the other person that she's doing the debate against, have you ever heard about Rufus? And she's like, of course you have. And she was like, there's a bunch of Rufuses out there. And she was like, you know, you can't reform something that basically is doing what it was meant to do. Okay, we have had these type of things happening since slavery, and so she was giving her breakdown on that, which is very true. Okay, and of course, you know, you have Franklin watching her and hearing what she was saying on this, you know, news on the debate. And so David and Franklin are finally home and together and laying in the bed together. And Martha comes in and she's overhearing them. And Franklin is telling him, like, you know, oh, I saw what you was talking about with the moon and it was so beautiful. And he was like, well, when does the next one happen? Because hopefully when the next one happen, I will be able to watch it with you. And David starts counting on his fingers, and he basically tells his father, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to happen in another 5 years. And when Franklin hears that, he goes out in the hallway and begins to cry. You know, Martha kind of walks away like she don't even want to console him, because at this point, it kind of proves her point of what she was saying, I guess. And I guess she just feels drained and over it. And so he just cried for a minute there, because he know he don't have 5 years. He won't be around in 5 years. So the fact that he still saw what David was talking about, but he didn't get to see it with him, and he will probably never get to see something like that with him, because the doctor's telling him he only have 18 months. That was just like, you know, really a reality check. That was the bottom line, you know. And he broke down crying in the hallway and was really, really hurt. And so I think he's trying to keep himself busy, of course, with work, because at the end of the day, who the hell want to face, you know, that they're dying? Of course, the first 5 stages of grief is denial, right? And so that was basically the end of the episode so far, you guys. And we see that Moses basically, you know, don't want no parts of his dad, and he sees that he's full of crap. So it's going to be interesting now that he done became his daggone cellmate, to see how that's gonna go. But you guys, let me know what you thinking about this show so far. How you feeling about Moses' dad? How you feeling about how Franklin is handling this? How you feeling about Tutu's mom, Moses' mom? You know, what Joshua was doing? Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. Okay, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. You know, put some flames up. Let me know you stopped by. Till next time.